everybody. Today I will be ranking all the fighters in RGBfighters.com. And to play this game, I'll leave it in the description below, but it's RGBfighters.com. And I am the developer here, and I'm with the co-developer who is in the call. And we will rank all the characters today. So we're going to go in order from left to right. And let's start with red. So where do you think red should be placed and why?
Okay, so I think Red is one of the easiest characters to pick up, and he's a very good character for beginners.
I agree.
His fireball is very basic, but you could you could spam it quite easily because the cooldown is pretty short, and his dash move is
Oh my
arguably the best
god.
move in the game.
The
So
dash.
I would say
I think the dash might put him at S, but I
I
don't
would
know.
say for now just keep him at A. Maybe we could change it later, but I would say A tier, only because I feel like his ceiling is not as high as some other fighters.
I can see that. I can see that. And with red, you need blue. So where are we putting blue?
Okay, so Blue's two moves are pretty good, but the issue with him is I feel like the cooldown on his projectiles are quite long.
I agree.
However, if you do land them, they are very powerful. I'm thinking tier B, but I'm leaning towards lower B tier right now.
For me, I feel like blue is very situational. So if you get a good combo with the setups, it could be very good. And same with the slow orb, how it disables jumping, it could be very useful, especially when you're low and you can't take hits. However, with that being said, I feel like there's just better special moves in the game. So I'd put him. I'm leaning towards C, and we can move him
Okay,
up later.
keep him at C for now, I guess. I'm fine with that.
Next screen, in my opinion, one of the most underrated characters in the whole game. Where do you think he ranks?
So his heal, like where you just heal and I guess charge up, is okay. It's not the best move in the game, but it's pretty good because you have to get pushed and you force them to go towards you. And then if they get towards you, you could easily hit them with your projectile, which is very good because it's very hard to avoid. It's pretty fast. Yeah, it's unblockable as you mentioned, and you get 5 HP if you land it. Does I think how much damage does it do
15
overall?
total.
15 exactly. So honestly, I think he's an A tier above red,
Above
but
red?
where do you pick him?
Yeah, I would put him A tier. I was thinking below, but for now, let's put him above. Now, debatably, one of the lower characters, we have Black over here. Where do you think he ranks?
So Black's Void Ball is one of the best projectiles in the game, in my opinion. The cooldown is quite long, but if you land it, it's very good because you can't block and you can use your special abilities for quite a long time.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
his charge up, although pretty situational, it has potential to do very decent damage. If you get even only 20, that's still a huge connection.
I agree.
So
It could really bring you back in the game. However, with that being said, if you get hit while charging, it resets, which is kind of anticlimactic if you're waiting all that time to charge and then, it just goes away just like that. So, with that being said, where do you think he ranks?
yeah, also not to mention that the cooldown on both his projectiles are quite long. So I would say I'm leaning honestly lower C. I was thinking D initially, but I think lower C is more appropriate.
Okay, I could
What do
see
you
that.
think? You agree or you think D?
Yes, I agree. Okay, now we got Ying, we need the Yang. We got White. Where does he rank?
Okay, so White, he has arguably the best spacing in the game. He has the lower projectile and the overhead, so you could just
I
go in a
agree.
combo, use a bunch of mix-ups,
Mixing it up.
and
Yeah,
honestly,
very good combo.
sometimes it is hard to avoid. If you're at the, it's really map situational, but if you're at the top of a map and you do the overhead, it's nearly a guaranteed connection
Yeah, it's
unless they block.
basically
So
unreactable.
yeah, so with that being said, I think it is pretty situational. So I would say C, same with Black. I'm not sure if he's above or below Black, but he's still pretty solid.
I think he has a case of being above Black because he can outzone a
Yeah,
good amount of characters. And
yeah, and he's arguably I won't say he is, but he's arguably one of the best spacers or rangers in the game. So yeah, I would say C, above Black, below Blue.
I agree. Now we got Purple.
Okay, so Purple is one of my personal favorite characters, and I think maybe besides Black, I think maybe even above Black, he has the best comeback potential. You land one of the projectiles, and you do double damage, an uppercut, 20 damage, a kick, a bunch of damage, and overall, that's probably a top three
Special
ability.
move. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree
and
heavily with that statement. However, what I will say is his second special move is a charge, and all he is a little faster and jumps higher. I feel like it's kind of lacking compared to other characters who have two good special moves, such as Red's Fireball and Dash, and like Pink's Parry and plus shot. Where do you think he ranks?
Yeah, I still think he's S tier, honestly. And also, not to mention, like he's probably the best like brawler in the game. So if you're good at fighting, getting close up, you could also use the boost to like apply constant pressure, and that could
Yeah.
also be good for running away. So I think he's S tier.
Now yellow, one of my personal favorites.
Okay,
Where do you
so
rank?
yellow is unique because his reflectability is basically it doesn't really match any other characters. Maybe it's pretty similar to Pink's parry, which we'll go later, but like it's very unique and you can use it whenever. And since every character has a projectile, it's pretty strong. And also his spear is very fast, and it gives you a stun, so you could basically get a free uppercut 10 damage, or you could like just lead it into another combo or whatever. Um, he's also best, really good against. I think he's probably the best against like the boss characters.
Yeah, that I agree. He is easily the best character to use against boss fighters. It's only second to maybe red, but even then he might be the best.
Yeah. So,
However,
it is. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
in one-on-one combat, I feel like if you're a good player and you spam projectiles, he's quite lacking. So I'm leaning towards B tier. Where do you think?
I honestly think B tier is okay. I was thinking maybe lower A, right below red, but it's whatever you think is more appropriate.
For now, I feel like it's more appropriate to put him in the face of B tier because it
Okay.
matches. Now we got orange.
Okay, so orange is sort of like purple in the sense if you use your charge ability, which makes your hit speed much faster, and you can spam kicks like more uh more
Frequently.
frequently, yeah, more frequently, then you have potential to be the best like fighter in the game. Fighter, I mean like actual combat, like brawling. However, I feel like it's kind of hard to get off the charges, especially in certain maps where there's not as much protection. And his triple fireball is good. You can use it during combos, but it kind of has the same issue with red as like you could just duck it or just block it.
I agree.
And you could this ability does have a decent cooldown. So he's definitely nowhere near as strong as purple. With that being said, he's still solid. I would say
I would say he's
I don't
probably
know.
B tier behind yellow because, like you said, his ability is good if you're a good brawler. But if you're a new player, I feel like he's a very weak character. And while the triple fireball does do 15 damage, like you said, you could just duck under it, and it has a pretty hefty cooldown compared to other projectiles.
Yeah, I would
Now,
say B is appropriate. Lower B.
now we have gray.
Okay, so initially I thought Gray was one of the most powerful characters because I feel like the skill cap of using his like shield where it does pulsing damage if you're in the range was pretty strong. And his other ability is very good for keeping distance.
Yes.
It knocks you back
That's what
very
I agree
far.
with 100%. Gray is very good at keeping distance. So if you're trying to rush in on him, he can get you with this wind fireball that pushes you back very far. And if you're in Gray's grill, he could always use the field to push you away from it.
Yeah, so with that being said, his brick I don't know, I feel like there are some limitations. Like
The cooldown,
some of the other abilities mentioned are just simply better. Like the double damage from purple, red's dash, and green's
poison bolt.
projectile are just stronger. So I was thinking probably B tier. I don't know if above or below yellow, but definitely above orange, I would say.
Let's stick him in the middle for now because I can see how the reflect be more useful than like the field because you can
Yeah,
block.
that's fair. That's fair.
Now we have the first add-on character that you need to complete all the ladder achievements. Via Brown. Where does he rank?
Okay, so Brown is one of my favorite characters, and I think he has arguably the coolest special ability, the phase shift, where you basically become the projectile.
Yeah.
And it's also sort of like a teleport. You can use it to run away, and you can jump straight up off the wall. So it's very unique and very fun to use. And his other charge ability, if you get it off, it is pretty strong. You could literally take no damage.
For 5 seconds. Yeah, I also do agree that it is the strongest charge ability in the game.
Yeah. So, and not to mention his phase shift also does a stun, so it's
Yes.
pretty similar to blue.
Yeah. He's very
Um,
good.
I'm thinking, I'm thinking above or below gray. But I could also see it being above yellow. So I'm not really sure where to put it.
I feel like it's it's hard to use sometimes if like they're a good zoner because he doesn't really have a standard projectile that launches across the screen. He is himself the projectile, and it is
Yeah.
not the fastest projectile in the game. But if you land one of those stuns, it's very hard to counter. And if you manage to get a charge off, you could basically just rush it down, and the projectiles thrown at you won't don't affect you at all. So, with that being
Yeah.
said, I think I put him in front of Yellow. I think he might be the new face of B tier.
Yeah. And the only reason why I don't see him in A tier is because I also feel like his ability where you don't take damage, you could just get knocked back a lot. And I from my experience, every time I try to rush, people are just either run away or do a good job keeping the range. So yeah, I think B tier is appropriate.
Now we have Pink. Where do you think Pink ranks amongst the characters?
Okay, so Pink, this is another character you unlock, and honestly, it's probably the strongest character in the game, at least playable character. So it has, first of all, it has one of the best ranging because the ability where
Yeah,
it's like the projectiles in all directions is very strong, especially on certain maps where there's a lot of elevation.
such as
You could just
Recursion.
press that ability. And not to mention, I think the parry is probably the strongest ability in the game
Yes.
because there's not much you could do if you block or use the parry and they hit you, they go flying up, and then you can use your projectile and then combo from that. So Pink is very strong. I would say S, maybe potentially even S plus.
Yes, I agree. Pink is a very strong character. His special moves, such as his projectile, are very good, especially for new players. And even the parry, it just pairs so well with his projectile because you need to get up in his face to do something against Pink. And when you're up in his face, just get parried and it pops you in the air, which pushes you back, and Pink can go back to his zoning game. And maps such as Recursion, he's basically unbeatable. So with that being said, I think he's the face of S plus, or no S.
Yeah, and I would just say it's definitely worth grinding to get both Pink and Brown. Good.
Yeah.
Brown because he's really fun to use, and Pink because he's really strong.
Yeah, but you have to win those 50 online matches, so it will be hard, but I think it's worth the grind.
Agreed.
Next character is the sub boss of the game. We have Transparent.
Okay, so just can you remind everybody what the abilities of Transparent are?
Yes, so Transparent has an ability where he's goes in the ground. You see his shadow, and he can pop up whenever. And this, when he pops up, if it lands, it will do 12 damage. And then his second ability is ground pound, where he will charge up and like do a ground pound move. And if you are on the ground, you'll be stunned, and you'll basically get a free hit. And even if you hit him while he's doing this ground pound charge, it still will pound the ground no matter what.
Yeah, so with Transparent is that first ability is really hard to avoid, I feel like. Especially since the boss is right now only AI could use it unless you find him online. But um it's basically a guaranteed hit and it's very hard to avoid.
And it does
And
massive damage of 12, which is more than a tenth of your health bar, which is very
yeah.
good and strong.
With that being said, the ground pound, I feel like once you learn how it works, it's not the hardest thing to avoid.
Yes,
And
that I agree. And I feel like when he's doing the ground pound charge, if you're close enough, you can get some good damage on him before you get ground pounded. So I feel like
exactly, and not to mention that he doesn't have a health boost or damage boost like the other boss does and the other secret character do. So I would say he's probably honestly he's S tier. You could make an argument that Pink is better, but it's up to you where you think he ranks.
yeah, I agree. I think for a boss fighter, he should be higher, but honestly, I can see how Pink is a stronger fighter overall, especially that they have the same health and do the same damage. I feel like it's really a toss up where you put it, but for the sake of this video, I'll put it behind Pink.
Yeah. So now it's the boss character, correct?
Yes, we have Monochrome, the
Okay.
ladder boss.
So how much health does he have? 120?
He has 120 health points, and he also does 1.5 times damage roughly for compared to a normal fighter.
Yeah, so that's a big advantage to start with. And not to mention his two abilities with the wave and the homing missile are very strong. And you basically have to block. You have to block the homing missile, or else you're just going to take a bunch of damage. And the wave, you have to just avoid.
I
So
I think the homing missile is very hard to counter because the only way you could stop it is by blocking high. And it
yeah,
doesn't do any chip damage, but he could spam it, and it also launches you in the air, which had with all these caveats on the special move is very strong. And then his wave, while it's definitely not the strongest move in the game, if it lands, it will stun you and do 10 damage, which is very hefty. And like, if you get hit by one of those, like your match is almost over because his uppercut is 15 damage. So if you get hit by the stun, 10 plus 15, 25 damage just by getting hit by two moves, which is very hard to like counter. And on top of that, his health points are just absurd.
Yeah. So with that being said, it's pretty obvious that he's S plus.
Now we have
And he's very strong boss fight.
now we have the secret character, Rainbow.
Okay. So would you like to describe the abilities that Rainbow has?
Yes. So the first of all, I'd like to start off with saying the only way you could face Rainbow is finding him online in a 1v1. And there's actually an achievement for a reason because he is easily the best character in the game. I'm gonna put him in S plus right away in the front. His first ability is his projectile, which is a homing missile, and it's a lot of mini projectiles coming at you very fast, and it does a maximum of 48 damage if you land every single projectile. And not to mention that that might be his weaker ability. His second ability is spawning in an AI fighter from the choices of pink, purple, green, red, brown, yellow, gray, orange, blue, white, and black. He can spawn any of those fighters, and they will go at you while um, Rainbow is fighting as well. It's like basically a two versus one, and there's not much you could do.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious he's the best fighter in the game, and there's not really competition. And with that being said, is there anything you'd like to revise about this tier list? I think maybe we should move some fighters into D, maybe switch up the B tier as well. What I was thinking is, um, I think S plus, S, and A are all pretty good how they are right now. I think maybe Orange has an argument to go in C, and then White and Black have an argument to go in D.
Here's what I'll say. I feel like orange, yes, I would put it in C tier because their situations I rather have the abilities of blue. However, with that being said, I still think he's a stronger fighter than blue. And
Yeah, I agree.
while you said you think like white and black could go in D tier, I feel like maybe only black is D tier because there's still situations white could be a pretty strong character, but I feel like black in most matchups isn't the strongest fighter, and like you might there's like, cause think about it. Even if you get your void ball off, you still do the same damage. He doesn't have. The only thing is he can't block or do a special moves. Well, yes, it's very strong. This doesn't really do anything if the fighter you're playing against is still a good like brawler, and also
Yeah,
they
and
could run
also,
away.
yeah, and I was gonna say also, it is kind of putting you at a handicap having to charge because you can't really block
Yeah.
and you can't really like punch. So it's really dependent on you hitting it. I wouldn't say lucky, but like it's pretty situational when you would actually land a charge ball. And he's still very strong. I still believe that the Void is one of the best projectiles in the game, but I think D tier is appropriate. And I think this tier list is pretty perfectly ranked.
Yes, and just to add on Rainbow, I forgot to mention, on top of him being absurdly
Oh yeah,
strong,
yeah.
he does double the damage of a normal fighter, and he also has 150 health. So he's basically unbeatable unless you're some RGB fighter god.
Yeah. And for a final comment, I would like to say, for a beginner character, I would say, as I kind of alluded to earlier, Red is probably your best bet because his dash move is really strong and it's I don't know, I feel like it's pretty simple to get used to, and especially since it's unblockable, it could counter a lot of these other fighters.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And for like I would say a higher skill cap character, I think although not the strongest, Orange, if he can have some really good combos, especially using the fireball. It's like 15 damage, and he could hit faster if you get the charge off. So I think maybe more skilled fighters will be able to use him more advantageously. But yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, thank you for watching, everyone. And if you have any comments down below, what should be changed, please let me know. And make sure to play RGB Fighters at rgbfighters.com.